America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you please remain standing, I'd like to invite Pastor Chris Kesson with Restoration Christian Church to provide the invocation.
Good evening. If you bow your head with me, please. Heavenly Father, you are the most gracious source that we have. You provide us mercy and direction when we call on you. I lift this group of people in this political environment to you. In a completely broken world, these people have the ability to bring light. I pray that your Spirit would guide their conversations tonight and that your precepts would be at the forefront of everything that they think and everything that they decide. Lord, we pray that you would move here tonight to bring freedom back to our country, back to this community. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Egner.
Here.
Mr. Grubbs.
Here.
Mr. Samuels.
Here.
Ms. Dole.
Here.
Mr. Maines.
Here.
Mrs. Wilson.
Here.
First item this evening is approval of the council meeting minutes from March 15th, 2022.
Wilson moves to accept,
Second.
approve.
We have a motion second. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Dole.
Yay.
Maines.
Yay.
Mrs. Wilson.
Yay.
Mr. Wilson.
Yay.
Egner.
Yay.
Grubbs.
Yay.
Samuels.
Yay.
So we'll go to the guest and visitor section. Our first guest this evening is Dan Dieters with Energy Alliance Incorporated. He has information concerning the legislation we recently passed and what the market's doing. We may need to rethink where we're at.
So I'll keep it brief. Last time I was here, we needed to do two things to get the price to the number we wanted to get it to that the council approved. One thing was to get a couple of different areas on board at the same time so that we had the enough gas to purchase to get it to that number. We have 24 or 25 communities that we're trying to move. We didn't need to get them all in, but we needed to get a good piece of them in, and we did that. The problem is the day that we went to strike, the market went up 5%, and it hasn't really stopped since. It was only a couple of days after that meeting. So what I'm asking you, or I'm updating you on, is the drop dead to get a contract under the legislation you passed would be April 12th. The reason that's the date is because we have things to file with the PUCO, we have opt-out materials, we have to give folks 28 days to opt out, things like that, once the program is submitted to the PUCO. So that date is April 12th. At this point, we're not sure that we're going to be able to achieve that number by April 12th, and truthfully, we don't recommend going above that number at this point anyway. What we would rather do is, if we can't hit it on the April 12 date, hold off on the program. Let it expire. Let the residents go back to Duke for 3 or 4 months, and then continue to shop over the next month and a half and get a program together and a contract that we can sign now, but start then. And I know it kind of sounds a little bit odd. We've done this before, but it doesn't really make any sense to put the citizens of this or any other community into a deal right now, to rush into something when the price of gas is the highest it's been in 14 years. So what we'd like to do is kind of let it try to settle. And when you start to buy futures, the more months you kind of skip and add to the end, the futures are much lower than the up close months. So that will bring the price down naturally. So that's what we're hoping to do. And the good thing is about it, there's two good things about it. The first thing is the meter read in June, you still are at 39.6 cents. So through this crazy Cincinnati April that we're having, who knows what's going to happen? Probably not a lot, but May is usually a pretty warm month. The meter read in June will be the last 39-cent reading. So that's one good thing. The second thing is, once we get in the summer, nobody's using gas. at all, hardly at all. I mean, it's probably 2% of your use the whole year long, 2 or 3 maybe in July, August, that September, those areas. So I think it's in the best interest to protect the residents, to just let them roll back onto the utility and then find a contract that's appetizing to start it and fix it before the winter comes. We're actually kind of lucky that it happened, that this time of year happened. You know, this is the timing, because if this was November, some folks would think, we got to get into something just because we don't know what the winter's going to do. But we just need a little more time to watch the market. The models that we've put together say it's going to come down in a month, so we're hoping that happens. So, but we could still do something by next Tuesday.
So the legislation tonight is mute if we decide to hold?
I don't think there's any, you don't have to do anything.
So I had the law director prepare in case you came in and had a recommendation that we could fill the number in, but we can just, when we get to that, we can have a vote not to do anything of no action. But I'd like Dan to explain for anybody that's listening or happens to watch the meeting in the future, what the resident might notice from here till when we get back into contract, and what they will see through that process, so that they're aware.
Sure.
I know the process because I've been through it, but I want to make sure that the people that actually are in the program today would roll out and then have the opportunity to come back in, what they would see.
So so you're not gonna see anything right now, right in the immediate month and a half. After your May read, Duke will send you a letter saying, this is your final, coming up in June, read with Constellation Energy. They won't see anything but that letter, and then on their bill, the Constellation rate will come off, and then the regular tariff rate will go on. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna provide every one of our communities with something for their website that explains everything, and we're gonna ask you, if you want to just forward any calls to Energy Alliances, and that'll be on the website too, so we can handle all the customer service. That's some communities say, no, we'll do it. It's up to you how you guys feel like you want to handle it, but we're happy to take all the calls. This is not the first time we've done this, when the standard service offer is inordinately low or the pricing is very, very high. We've done this before, where you don't get a lot of calls, but you will get some calls with regard to it. That letter will come out. That's when you might get some calls saying that the aggregation program has ended, going back to Duke. And then, depending on when we sign the contract and when the start, let's say it's a October start, they'll get the opt out around August 10th or 11th, something like that. In that area, they'll get that opt out, then the program would completely restart again. So they'll see a letter from Duke, and then they'll see the new opt out letter.
So in the interim period, if I'm a homeowner and I've been rolled back over to Duke and I enroll into a different supplier, what happens?
You will not be included in the new program.
So I would be locked into that until I
Yeah.
either get out of that program, potentially have to pay a penalty, or
Yep.
till that program runs its time and then I can switch over.
Correct. And I looked at the apples to apples today. For the amount of gas that you would use in the summertime, you're talking a couple of bucks maybe to get into something that may penalize you heavily into the winter, or even for the next 2 years, depending on how long the term is. If I was in the program, I would just roll back to the utility, and then wait for the letter, and then take a look and make a decision for you, the best decision for you. And I think it's probably gonna be, just get rolled back into the program.
I don't disagree. I think with the timing, it'll allow us the opportunity to have more flexibility, I guess. Wait and it'll all happen before the fall. But I do have a question. I apologize. I must have missed the meeting that you were here last time. What was the rate at that time?
We were
7 cents?
Well, we had a ceiling at 57, but we were coming in around 52 or 3 at the time,
Okay.
because we wanted to give a little cushion. Had we given more cushion, I'd be standing here telling you the same thing.
Yeah.
There's no reason to to rush this and then, you know, be stuck the next 2 winters with who knows what price.
And the projections are that they'll come down to the 57 or lower?
They've been, this is the highest they've been in 14 years.
What's the number?
What's that?
What's the price right now?
Oh, the sixes, 67 cents.
I just got somebody shared their quote renewal letter with their gas carrier, and it was, like 76 cents.
Yeah, I saw, we get a lot of customer service calls, you know, people will try to get on the program.
What did you
And
say, Duke?
I talked to a gentleman today that was in Fairfield, and he's paying 91 cents.
She was just saying Duke's at 81.
Duke's at 81 in April. Thank God we're covered out here. And it's
Duke's
gonna be,
gas cost recovery rate is 81.
and then, I don't think that doesn't include the excise tax. So it's probably like 85. And then next month, I think, we don't have next month yet, but it's, some of the stuff we've seen, we think it's gonna drop to the low 70s again, but still. But, you know, the GCR for Duke, and we've talked about this kind of before, isn't really a rate. They get, GCR means gas cost recovery. Everything they put into it, they get it out. If they don't charge enough in April, they'll tack it on in May. So they don't really, they do some strategic buying of gas when they think they can or when they try to, but this is, they're gonna get their money. That's, it should be called the they're gonna get their money rate.
PUCO guarantees they won't lose money.
Correct, absolutely.
I'm kind of confused. I'm the kind of the new kid on the block, even though I'm the oldest sucker probably in here. You said earlier that we will be signing an agreement with you now, but we won't know the cost until later? Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's no agreement now. We're gonna renew the gas aggregation program at some point in the near future. You'll have that cost when we renew it. The problem is the market has just taken off. And with the summer months coming up, 4 or 5 months of non-use, it didn't seem, I hate to use this word, I'm not gonna use that word. It didn't seem right to force in a program where the numbers are so volatile right now. We can sit and watch it for 3 or 4 months and figure out what we wanna do. It's not gonna take that long, we don't think. It
So
should
whenever we sign an agreement with you, we'll know the cost of what it's gonna be?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We make it what the latest we could do it is July.
The latest, the drop dead for October will be August 12th,
Okay.
something, I think,
But the buildup of supply,
39.6 cents,
39.6, and when did we sign that?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Okay.
Feedback.
I'm good.
I get a lot of feedback.
Gas is expensive right now.
Everything's expensive. I was telling Shannon that I filled up on the way over here. It was $76 down in
I
Cleveland.
think he said,
I put $50 in a Miata this week. Yeah, 9-gallon tank, but you got one.
raise my eyebrows.
Any more questions for Dan?
thanks, Dan. Appreciate
No
you
problem.
coming
We'll
out.
Thank
keep you
you.
posted and updated, and if something happens the next week, we'll let you know, but otherwise, you're actually gonna start getting, we're gonna start pricing it every couple of days, and you're gonna start getting pricing pretty rapidly through the next month, so,
Okay,
all right?
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna go a little bit of out of order from the agenda that's shown up on, screen there. We have Dale Maris here. He signed up to speak this evening. He's with, the Convention of States, and he's here to provide a update.
I did put together something to show you guys if we, real quick, see what you got here. And I gave everybody a handout that looks like this. That's gonna be the slides that I'm gonna follow through. Basically, I'm gonna start off with thank you guys for last year. You passed a resolution to support the Convention of States. Oh, am I too close to her? All right, so anyway, I thank you guys for
probably wanna talk into that
Yes,
mic.
I gotta go here closer to the microphone. For that effort last time in getting that through, and I just kind of wanted to go through what's happened since then, to let you know, and a little bit, one kind of review slide I want to do here. Basically, this is what the Convention of the States is all about. It's, some fiscal restraints on the federal government, basically a balanced budget, okay? To limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government, their overreach on the states where they're just taking away all of our rights, states and people and everybody else. I think everybody in the country thinks that's true. And then limited terms on the officers and people in Congress up there to help drain the swamp in Washington. So this is all for Washington DC. This is all federal. So we have to get enough states to pass this so we can call a convention to get this thing going. So the Convention of the States basically just proposes amendments, and it goes through the standard process with the federal government at that point, how we do that. So anyway, since I was here last time, there's 4 more states that's passed. So we are on a big roll, and probably North Carolina is not very far behind, and there's several others. There's activity all over. There was a big meeting in Kentucky here recently too that went very well. So Kentucky's coming along. They're all coming along. So the states in green are the ones that's passed it. The ones in yellow, it's passed in one house or the other. And the ones in blue, there are resolutions up in all those states. So pretty much there's activity going on, all but just a very few states to do that. So
Yeah, do you know how long that resolution, how long the state of Ohio has been blue? Do you have any idea how long the state of Ohio has been blue? The resolution's been sitting in the State House?
We've been working on Ohio for about 8 years.
8 years.
So there's been bills up continually. Yeah, they've expired and we've had to renew them. In fact, they do a 2-year cycle, so we're hope that we make a push to get it actually passed this year. It's looking very positive for us to do it.
Okay.
So in Ohio right now, we've got HJR 1 that's in the House, and it's going forward. They've had hearings on it, and it's been introduced in the Senate, and they'll start having some hearings on the Senate coming up. We're planning on doing a big rally with thousands of people in Columbus, hopefully around August. We were gonna do it earlier, but with this whole redistricting stuff, it's thrown us in a curve doing that as well. So anyway. So we've exceeded 100,000 petitions in Ohio for something like this. That is a pretty large number for them seeing. So we have 2,100 volunteers. We organize by house districts. So we try to have like 2 what we call co-district captains in every house district. So we have 100 district captains covering 99 houses at this point in time. So, and there's other volunteer positions besides that. That's just kind of our frontline guys that take most all the calls and reply to your emails and that stuff when we're doing it. So we've also started having what we call block walks, and we're going to be doing that, and they're going to be started those here in Harrison very soon. We will go door to door, give them a pamphlet, show them what we're doing, trying to get our petitions signed, because one of our efforts, of course, is to get petition signatures that shows our representatives in Columbus that, we're seriously, we want to do this. So we'll have more yard signs. We're going to have more events. I will do what I call a town hall. I did one last year out in Sharonville. Had like 100 people at a movie theater. So I'll try to do those. And I'd like to do one right out here in Harrison if I can find the good spot that I can support that. And I think we can do that. So we also plan on being back for the parade here and out at the Harvest Home. I just want to hit quickly what the other opposition is doing. They've really picked up. It's usually George Sorrells and about $10 million that comes after us and all this stuff. And basically, they don't have a good argument, so they use fear, uncertainty, and doubt is basically what they do. Oh, it's going to do this. Oh, it's going to happen to this. Oh, it's going to go crazy. So that's kind of where most of them come from. You can just read, that's some of the things that they talk about that we're doing, and I don't have to read all those to you. Just picking out a couple of them, they basically kind of tell us our Constitution was not correctly created in the day that was created. And at first I go, I don't care. It's been the best thing the world's ever seen. Why do I care what happened? But they keep banging on us on that. And they try to say basically the Articles of Confederation did not have a method to actually rewrite a new constitution. And that's true. So what happened, they had a first meeting back then, they had a first convention back then, and the people going to the conventions decided, you're right, we can't accomplish what we need to accomplish to keep this country going by modifying the Articles of Confederation. So then they went out, and the states actually called the convention between the states themselves, not part of the federal government at that time. And that's how they did. They all recognized that they did it, and it was all really done properly. And so that's just one of the big things you're going to hear. And the other big thing is about this, it's going to be a runaway convention. Oh, you're going to get these people in here. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. You know, they just keep, that's the other main point. So just if you hear this stuff, I'd like for you to know that. So right here, this is actually language that's in the Constitution. So we're using this Article 5. There's two parts in it. We're using the second part where the states can do it. So in the application, you know, 2/3 of the states, then they can call a convention to propose amendments. And that's all we can do. We're just making suggestions or proposing amendments. And that's that first part. So that's all that's doing. I don't know how you can say that's going to be a runaway. The second part they talk about, well, then there's no controls in the ratification process. Well, the next paragraph actually in the Constitution, you know, basically says 3/4 of the states are going to have to pass that in one or two ways they can do that. So I know our President Mark Meckler, he kind of says, can you find, you know, any bill or something you wouldn't want passed or something like, you know, take away our gun rights, and you're going to find enough states that's going to ever pass that? You know, because every state gets one vote, so it's equal. It's a convention of states, so each state is equal when we do something like this. And so basically, I just wanted to say again, thank you. We're progressing forward. We're recruiting a lot of new volunteers. We're getting petition signers. And on the back of what I handed out, for a few of you that haven't yet signed my petition, you know, I'd encourage you to sign it and get it in. And I'll still be meeting with Cindy Abrams and keeping her updated on what's going on. She's a tremendous supporter and stuff, so we're doing good. All right, that's all I got. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Dale. I just would comment that I've signed the petition, and I would encourage the citizens of Harrison to go to a convention of states and sign the petition. It's easy to do on the website, or we can get them a paper petition if they feel more comfortable with that. Thanks.
So earlier today, I had a request from Michelle Elliott with Hamilton County, or I guess now it's the Cincinnati Public Library, to speak this evening, so I'd like to invite her up to give her presentation.
I was thinking today earlier, I was like, I don't know if I've been here since we got rebranded to the Cincinnati Public Library. Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library. CHPL instead of PLCH. So just move the letters around.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving me a few minutes today. I appreciate your time. I wanted to let you know that I'm having a program in May where it's a Vietnam War commemoration ceremony. So it's an opportunity to thank, honor, and recognize the service of Vietnam veterans, both living and deceased. And so I'm working with the Greater Cincinnati Chapter of Military Offers Association, and I found out that they do this program, and I thought, well, how cool that was. I have, I guess, a vested interest in it. My uncle served in Vietnam, and I remember when well, I wasn't alive then, but my mom would tell me about when he got home, when he came home, the reception wasn't great for him, and you know, he did serve his country, and he did lose his eye in the process of it, and so I guess I just have always thought it would be nice to do something like this. So I'm trying to get the word out, because you have to register for the event by April 22nd so that they have enough time to verify your service. And so I thought, what better way than to tell the city council about it. So I have some flyers that I could give you, and I appreciate you helping to get the word out about it.
Two great representatives sitting on this council. Know a lot of people.
That's what I was thinking. Do you have any questions for me?
You have a handout?
Yeah.
What is the date of the ceremony?
The ceremony is going to be on Wednesday, May 25th at 7 p.m., but you have to register by April 22nd in order to be recognized. And it's for veterans that are still living and veterans who have died, their family members can be part of it. They're too generous at the beginning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks, thank you,
Thank
Michelle.
you.
Good seeing you.
So at this time, I have a proclamation I'd like to read. So as many of you know, we have a upcoming sister city signing ceremony that will occur in May. What many people probably don't know is Meckesheim, Germany is celebrating their 1200th year of existence this year. So I have a proclamation declaring April 9th, 2022 as Meckesheim Day. Whereas 2022 is the 1200th anniversary of the city of Meckesheim, Germany, and whereas the Meckesheim community has planned a jubilee to commemorate this momentous occasion, and whereas officials, residents, and businesses from Harrison, Ohio have been invited to participate in this jubilee, and Harrison resident Kurt Wolfert has been designated as our official ambassador to the jubilee to present this document, he has a second official copy written in German, signed by me and the clerk, to present. And whereas there will be an elegant anniversary banquet in the Ostweissen Hall hosted by Astrid Jacobi of Radio Regenburg, Oregon, to celebrate the event, and whereas Professor Stephen Harber, President of the Federal Constitutional Court of Germany, will be one of Jubilee's keynote speakers, and whereas the leaders, residents, and businesses of Harrison, Ohio have entered into a sister city relationship with the leaders, residents, and businesses of Meckesheim to foster economic, social advancement between our cities. And now therefore I, William Nyer, Mayor of the City of Harrison, Ohio, do hereby recognize and honor the date of April 9th, 2022 as Meckesheim Day in Harrison, Ohio. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Meckesheim Day and our region's strong German heritage, and to support the efforts to promote the ongoing relationship between our two cities for the well-being of this and future generations. So we will move into the business section if we don't have any other visitors. The first item is do not request a hearing for a new liquor license for Janssen Hospitality LLC DBA on the Rocks at 231 Harrison Avenue. Does anybody have a desire to have a hearing?
Oh, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no action on this. We do not request a hearing. This next item is a vote to amend a resolution to approve natural gas aggregation agreement between the City of Harrison and Energy Alliances Incorporated. We spoke about this earlier. If somebody would like to make a motion that we take no action on this at this time.
Wilson, JW moves to take no action.
Second.
We have a motion and second not to act on this at this time. When we hear from Energy Alliances that we need to take action, we'll bring this back to the table. Vote, please.
Maines.
Yay.
Mrs. Wilson.
Yay.
Mr. Wilson.
Yay.
Egner.
Yeah.
Grubbs.
Yay.
Samuels.
Yay.
Dole.
Yay.
I will do my best to keep everybody informed as to any information passed along by Energy Alliances. And hopefully they're able to secure a nice rate like they did the last time for us for all of our residents. Next item is a vote on an ordinance amending the amount of appropriated funds to various, funds appropriated to various funds at the City of Harrison.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion or questions on this item?
Mayor, I'd just like to make a quick comment regarding these appropriations. Actually, this is part of an overall bigger project that we knew was coming down the pipeline, but actually is being funded by the savings, part of the savings from the bond refinance. So this was something that was known, and we're just using those proceeds to pay for this.
Any other discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Wilson?
Yay.
Mr. Wilson?
Yay.
Egner?
Yeah.
Grubbs?
Yay.
Samuels?
Yay.
Dole?
Yay.
Maines?
Yay.
That is ordinance number 422.
Our next item is to vote on an ordinance to levy special assessment on properties, and I have 4 addresses here for the cost of nuisance abatement and removal repair of unsafe conditions. The addresses are 411 Park Avenue for the amount of $150, 528 Harrison Avenue for $338, 1403 Stone Drive, $263, and 10558 Harrison Avenue, $780.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions or discussion?
This gets levied on their property, and when it goes to sell, it has to be cleared at that point, is that correct?
That is correct. Apologize for the feedback.
And several of these properties we've levied year over year over year, is that correct? Sometimes multiple times a year. That must be me.
Anyhow,
What did I do?
I don't know.
I think 411 Park Avenue
And
hasn't
Park,
had
yeah.
anybody
That
living
might
in
be.
it for the last
But
forever that I
Yeah.
remember.
There's 2 on Stone Drive, 1403 is one of them. There's another one on Stone Drive that's been vacant for years also.
well, apparently there's no assessment for that one.
Well, I think they
Vacancy is
keep it
not a
up.
problem. It's property maintenance or having an unsafe condition on the property. If the owners, they're given opportunities, if they don't address them after several attempts, then the city does it, and the cost of abating the problem is assessed.
What does it take to get on this list? Like, is this 2 months, 3 months, a year? How long
So
have they
the-
been?
Depending on what the situation is, it can be months, sometimes, like, I would imagine some of these are just accumulations of small amounts over long periods of time, and once you hit a threshold, it's gonna come forward. So $150 doesn't sound like much, but they might have had months to pay that and just have not. We first
So-
try to collect before we assess.
Okay, how can we find out what 411 Park Avenue is being charged $150 for?
Shannon, can you give us a little?
I've got it right here.
Well, she has a breakdown, but there's another, Shannon can give us an overview of how people get to this situation, how they can prevent getting to this situation. And there's always a log of all the assessments and what they're exactly
That
for.
was 528.
So Shannon?
Many of these are for grass cutting from the end of last year.
That's what it is.
So we attempt to work with property owners to, well, some of them get cited to mayor's court, and they come. If they don't cut the grass, then they can get fined in mayor's court. And if they refuse to come, then the last resort is we will cut the grass and then do this mechanism. One of our worst offenders this past year was the Taco Bell, and that came up in our conversation earlier, that we're gonna try to take other kinds of legal action against them so that problem will not continue.
The old Taco Bell.
That's correct, I'm sorry.
The
Yes,
old Taco
the
Bell, not the
old,
new one.
which, by the way, is not owned by the current people who operate the new Taco Bell. So that is how it kind of happens, and then, the last resort is we do it, and then it goes on to their tax duplicate, and that's the last resort. So we try to work with people, and most people that we work with throughout the year with the threat of coming to mayor's court, will clean up their properties. And sometimes that's 3 or 4 months, and we give them as many opportunities as possible. Sometimes there's hardships with senior citizens or something like that, and we will work with them to sometimes find them people to do the work for them. But these are the worst offenders that either don't show up for court or just basically ignore everything that we say, so we do it and then we charge them. So that's the long and short of it.
Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson.
Yay.
Egner.
Yeah.
Grubbs.
Yay.
Samuels.
Yay.
Dole.
Yay.
Maines.
Yay.
Mrs. Wilson. That is ordinance 5A through 5D.
We have any items to add this evening? Okay, we'll move to the reports. I would like to comment on the 1200th anniversary of Mecasime. That's quite a momentous occasion. There's not a lot of cities or towns or villages throughout the world that can claim 1200 years of existence. That has to say something tremendous for that town. That's several world wars, several other types of conflicts have occurred in that region over the years. They have a very rich history that shows that their community is very tight. And being able to develop a sister city relationship with that community is very rare for a community to find one like that to pair up with. So I'm sure that in the future, our city and their city will have many exchanges of not just cultural, but technological and social and political discussion that will enrich both communities. Everybody does something different in different parts of the world, and that's something that we can learn, grow, and enrich ourselves from. And part of the Sister City program initiation when they first started out was to promote world peace and cooperation. So this city has a link to Harrison in that there's some residents that live in our community that one of them was actually born in that community. So it was a natural fit for us. And the more I learn about Mecasime, the more intrigued I am. And I get to go visit. I'm going to go visit in May to do the official signing. And I'm thrilled about it. Literally, when I found out we were supposed to go in 2020, and COVID hit and everything got stopped, and now finally we're at a point where we can go. And it's one of those things that, you know, you plan this big vacation that you've been wanting to do for years, and that's what this feels like. I can't wait to get there. I can't wait for this to happen. And I hope that the residents of our city start to see and understand the value that this can bring, because we'll be able to share a lot of information back and forth, student exchanges, learn about culture. There's almost not an end to the limit of things that can happen here. So that's all I want to speak about this evening. I don't have any other report, and the law director was excused this evening, so we'll go to Mr. Wilson for his report.
Good. Speaking about Mecasime, was that when Ryan Grubbs actually started running for city council when they got their charter?
Just before that. I think it was just before that.
We had a utility meeting tonight, Mayor, and the softening update is we're waiting on Duke to place the cabinets down there, and they're supposed to be here next week. Once they're in, then they're going to do a testing. All the testing will be done on the equipment prior to the startup, and we're anticipating the startup to be July the 13th on the new system down there. While I'm speaking, I have a check I'd like to present to the mayor from the American Legion for this month of $604. You all pass that down. I'd like to inform the mayor and city council that e-gaming has been approved in Ohio, and the American Legion is part of that. So if the community likes to go to the boat or anything, they can come down to the Legion and do the same thing. We are open to the public. The nice thing about our organization is on the e-gaming, 25% of the profit goes to the mayor's fund. So we're looking forward to the beginning of that, and we think that that's going to really enhance the mayor's fund quite a bit. And that's all I have, sir.
Well, Jerry, on behalf of the Mayor's Fund, I would like to extend our sincere thanks to the Legion for not just what you've just mentioned, but all the past support. The Legion has historically been one of the every single month contributors to the Mayor's Fund through the different programs that they have down there. And I've seen several other groups in the community step up, but it seems like they're one step or two steps or the step next to you guys. The Legion just seems to always come in. And
Thank you.
I applaud them for their efforts, and there are hundreds of families in this community that are assisted through the Mayor's Fund, and your organization down there at the American Legion is one of the reasons that's possible. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Dregner, do you have a report this evening?
I just have one thing, Mayor. Thursday, April 28th, I will be attending the ICRC Board of Directors meeting, and that's all I have.
It's usually a pretty interesting
Yeah.
meeting. Well, I hope you have a good evening that night. Thank you. Mr. Grubbs, do you have a report this evening?
Just a quick stormwater, sorry. We did have a very quick stormwater meeting this evening. Have a annual stormwater report that Jim's in the process of working on. There is a culvert over on East Street, that's being addressed, to see if it can handle the water situation over there. The next meeting is on May 3rd at 6:15, well, following streets and utilities. And then our next fire meeting is the 19th, immediately following police, and that's all I have to report, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Samuels, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, I do, Mayor. Thank you very much. On March 22nd, the Finance Committee did meet. Our biggest topic, or our biggest thing that we usually do is go through a review of the revenues and expenses, and we did review them through February. The numbers still look good. They look in line with budget at this point in time, but we are very early in the year. We're only 2 months in, so we'll keep a close eye on it, especially with tax season coming to an end here. We'll definitely keep an eye on the tax revenues to make sure that they stay in line with budget. So far, they are. We do have a healthy cash balance, so that is a positive thing for right now. One thing that we did talk about, and this is probably going to encompass more things as we go on throughout the year, and, with the supply chain issues and the fuel costs, and, we did take a look at what our fuel cost budget was. So there was a review of the budgeted fuel costs for each of the departments. They took a look, and they did revise some of those budgets. So we did come across, and we're looking at probably about a $20,000 increase, and that's spread across all departments, some larger than others. But that's what we're looking at as of right now. So we'll just keep an eye on that going forward to see if we need to make any adjustments from that estimate. As for the 2020 audit status, the fund adjustments have been provided to Clark Schaefer Hackett, and the financial statements will be reissued for 2020. Once they are reissued, the BHM group, the audit group, will complete the audit for 2020. Which is very good news, and probably no one is happier about that than Kim Downey. Good job on that so far. 2021 audit status, is still working on the account reconciliations. We are much better shape for that audit than we are for the 2020, obviously. So we're still hoping for a May 30th completion on that. The bond refinance, the city did close on that on March 16th, so that is a done deal. Some exciting news, a candidate for the vacant HR/payroll position has been identified. An offer was made and accepted, and they will be starting on April 25th, so that's very good news. Just some miscellaneous items that we also discussed. There is record disposal set for April 21st, so there's also the insurance policy was renewed. It was reviewed by the department heads and sent back for approval back to Highland. So that's moving right along. And one final piece of our software conversion that will hopefully come to a close at the end of April is the utility conversion. So they'll be on site doing some training with the utility department, And hopefully that'll be the final piece to our software conversion. It will be fully converted over, so. Our next finance committee will be on Tuesday, April 26th at 4:30 in the executive conference room. And police committee, our next police committee meeting will be April 19th at 6 p.m. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Stoll, do you report this evening?
Yes, Mayor, I do. We had our tree board meeting on March 22nd. Our Arbor Day meeting is going to be on April 26th at 7 p.m. at the library. All are welcome to attend that. We'll have Casey Kaniga as a guest speaker there, and we'll be giving out the free persimmon trees. Harrison was also recognized as a Tree City USA officially by the Arbor Day Foundation, so that's great to have as well. For social media, we had a meeting this morning at the Coffee Peddler. They're going to start our new city video next month, and we also talked about the upcoming Community Connect newsletters. IT met tonight as well. We talked about our HCC contracts for the next 3 years. Kim and Shannon mentioned that they're really happy with our IT support and how it's been for the last year, so that's good to hear. For recreation, just a reminder that we have our Easter event next Saturday. That'll be here at the Community Center from 8 to 11 a.m. We'll have breakfast and an egg hunt for the kids. And our next rec meeting will be on April 13th at 7 p.m. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Maines, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I do. I'd like to thank Pastor Kesson for the invocation tonight, coming out and doing that for us. I'd like to thank all our guests for coming out. Particularly, I'd like to thank Dale Maris for coming out and drawing attention to the Convention of States movement. I think many of us here in the city of Harrison can agree that our federal government is too big, too nosy, too intrusive. They can't balance a checkbook. And even our own here in Ohio, we have a congresswoman who holds the record for the most consecutive terms at 20. I don't think our founding fathers expected people to serve 40 years in a row up in Washington. So I would encourage folks again to go to conventionofstates.com and sign that petition. I would encourage those council members who haven't signed that petition to consider that as well. The next thing I'd like to talk about is economic development. We met tonight, and I got that piece of paper here somewhere. The K2 development in Michigan is working on the commercial retail project across some Kroger's. Has notified us that the project is probably going to be done in phases. The outlots closest to Harrison Avenue are going to be completed first, with the inline retail and the hotel delayed for a year. And of course, we heard Dan Dieters talk about the cost of natural gas going up. We have steel that those buildings need to be constructed of, and that's what's affecting their plans. The company has not yet submitted a revised concept or list of restaurants for the outlots. We certainly want to know what's going in there yet, but at this point, we do not know. Construction has begun at Hillwood's 535,000 square foot building on Simonson Road. I think many people have seen the large equipment moving around there out by Shawnee Springs and out there by the Dry Fork Road overpass. And Hillwood representatives report that they are close to signing a tenant, but they don't have details on who that tenant is going to be at this point. So that's exciting to know that once that the Hillwood building is complete, it's quite likely that it will be have a tenant inside of it, with plenty of high-paying jobs coming to the city of Harrison. Economic Development is working with the Ready Cincinnati to secure a Jobs Ohio grant to assist with roadway improvements around JTM. The scope, and JTM is expanding their facility there and adding processing lines, so they're going to need to have the roads improved for the increased traffic. The scope of the work is being revised, but it's probable that Jobs Ohio and ODOT will provide more than 60% or $600,000 of the $1 million of work that's estimated to be done there. We're working, the company and the city would share in the remaining balance, and we're actively seeking additional grants to get the funding for that $400,000. Another new business interested in locating in the downtown will be coming to Planning Commission next week. This business will be located at 231 Harrison Avenue, and it is the Mojave Groom Room, Pet Supply and Gourmet Pet Food and Grooming business. This is the last of, was it 5 suites that were developed there, right at the corner of Harrison Avenue and Sycamore, right? And what was it, just a few months after they started in renovated that space. The space is now filled, so that's exciting. This building is owned by Todd and Donna Smith, and another business, On the Rocks Restaurant and Bar, who is already committed to being there, is filing for that liquor permit, which we decided not to have a hearing on this evening. We're gonna let them go ahead and do that. The nice thing about their facility is gonna have outdoor seating at the corner of Sycamore and Harrison Avenue, and if you have been watching, if you live downtown like I do in downtown Harrison, you've seen that a parking lot turn into a nice patio, and that's been exciting to see. Economic Development Committee, the next meeting will be Wednesday, May the 4th, because May the 3rd is our Tuesday Ohio primary. So as per our ordinances, right, our meetings move from Tuesday to Wednesday. And if you have any comments about economic development, please contact Shannon Hammonds directly. You can find his phone number and email on our website. So that's all I have for economic development. Number 2, street on my list here, streets met this evening, and the Park Avenue design is progressing. It's due to finish in May, and once that's finished, it will go out to bid, and we're looking at construction beginning on the Park Avenue project starting in July, and that'll be a complete reconstruction of Park Avenue, much like we saw on Hill Street last year. The city, the township, and the county are working very hard to secure and apply for every grant that's available to try to get the Dry Fork Road Overpass project completed. We know that as the city continues to grow, and many of us know to avoid Dry Fork Road during rush hour and to avoid trying to get on the highway when the high school is getting ready to start school. It's very difficult to get on and off Dry Fork Road, and so we're working very hard to try to get that addressed and get that bridge replaced. We're just right under the line this year, so we're hoping to get something done in the next year or two. The next thing, the Dunaway Motocross Park opened today. It was open for a couple hours until the rain came. Yeah, we got some. What are you smiling at about there, Ryan? Yeah, he knows I got a little ride in this morning before the rain. There was a couple other folks there this morning as well. That was exciting to see that. The track is in great condition, probably in the best condition it's ever been for opening day, as long as I've been involved with the track. Last month, the 1860 Bottle Shop and Tap Room, cooperating with Northern Row Brewery, raised over $300 with their community tap for the Doug Dunaway Motocross Park. That money goes to Riding Forward, and then when we have expenses, when we rent equipment, that sort of thing, Riding Forward, a nonprofit organization that's involved with Real Sports, reimburses us for the equipment that we rent and use for grooming the track and other things that we do, active volunteers do for the track. And then lastly, related to the Doug Dunaway, there will be a fundraiser at Chandler's on April the 16th. At 2:30, there'll be an Atlanta Supercross watch party there. We'll be watching the Atlanta Supercross, and food and beverage proceeds will go toward, and they'll have some giveaways. Moto Extremes will have giveaways. I think Western Power Sports will have some giveaways and auctions and things like that, so that we can raise some money for the track. On April the 14th, next Thursday, I'll be at the OKI board meeting downtown Cincinnati, and I think that's all I have. I see 4 things. I don't see a 5th one. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mrs. Wilson, do you have a report this evening?
I do have a short report, Mayor, thank you. Building and Lands met on March the 29th. There was no business, no new or old business to be discussed. Our next meeting will be May the 31st, 2022 at 6 p.m. in room 110. On the veterans, the VFW on Lawrenceburg Road, the AMVETS on South State Street, and the American Legion on Campbell Road are continuing their fish fries through April the 15th. I encourage people to please attend one of them. All these 3 organizations pay it forward and do a lot of great work in our community. received an email from Kathy Williams today, and the military banners are going to continue this year. Kathy is chairing it again. She already has several applications from last year. There will be new applications available once we know how many we're going to be able to have. The American Legion Post 199 has agreed to be a sponsor again this year to help defray the costs, to keep the cost to families and veterans down. So there'll be more information shortly on our Harrison webpage and our Facebook account. I'd also like to thank the library for being here tonight and bringing the information on the Vietnam War ceremony. Many of our veterans that served in Vietnam were treated very badly when they came back, and it's nice to see when there's ceremonies like this that recognize them. So hopefully we'll have this information hopefully posted on our website and Facebook page, and it'll be on the American Legion's web page and Facebook page. And I think that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Gene. I have two things I'd like to.
So,
You
Mr.
have
Mayor,
some-
I have,
Go ahead.
want to apologize to you and council. I need to request, that we retire to executive session for a matter of economic development, or at least make a motion that we do that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Egner,
Yay.
That was enthusiastic.
Grubbs. Samuels,
Yay.
Now,
Dole,
Yay.
Maines,
Economic development, yay.
Mrs. Wilson,
Yay.
Mr. Wilson.
All right.
So before we retire to executive session, I have two things I'd like to note. When Gene talked about the fish fries, the Kiwanis also have fish fry going on, and several organizations in the area are not doing one on a fish fry on Good Friday. The Kiwanis will have theirs on Good Friday. So if your normal spot that you go to is not available on Good Friday, feel free to stop by the Kiwanis and try theirs out. And then lastly, April 30th, Harrison Township is having one of their cleanups. They do usually 2 a year. It will be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the end of Industrial Drive. Couple things to note. They'll have help there if you need to be unloaded. You, as a resident, no businesses, they will take up to 6 tires. They take electronics, garbage, yard waste. Harrison's taking care of the yard waste, the city. Mattresses and upholstered furniture, but it all has to be wrapped in plastic. Car batteries, appliances, lumber, scrap metal. I think I'd take that and recycle it someplace where I can get money. Document shredding from 10 to 3. And if you're not sure if what you have is going to be able to accept at the recycling event, check with one of the trustees. A few things that they've noted up front: they will not accept propane tanks, oil, explosives, or any type of paint. So that is open to all township residents, and as a note, if you live in the city, you are a township resident. So that event is open on April 30th, and if you have something to take down there to make our community look better, to clean your yard up, please do it. Okay, with that, any other comments? Okay, we'll retire to executive session.
Hi, kids.